Nick, would you say that original deck of cards is like the first and best of like multi-use because you can play so many games with it?
You can, and you can also throw them at people.
You can throw them at people.
You can build
52
towers.
card pickup.
That's true multi-use cards.
But other games have also done cards that have multiple uses.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph. Today, we are talking about games with multi-use cards. So this
Yes.
is a card, a lot of cards, you play it, it does the thing, that's it. But there's a lot of games, non-cowards, who basically, that's just a joke, of course, but like, they basically make it where this card can do this or this.
that,
You
or
can
another
use it
thing.
for this. You can discard it instead of playing it to get this. Lots of different games use multi-use cards, and it's personally one of our favorite mechanics.
Yeah, I think it always leads to like really interesting
Yeah.
decisions because of course I want to do all the things the card can do, but I
this,
gotta
do
make
this.
some tough decisions.
Yeah.
Sometimes cards have like 3 or 4 potential uses. We will talk about those on this list.
Indeed.
But let's hop right into our top 10 multi-use card games. Our first up is going to be Pandemic. Now, I didn't even think about this as the cards being multi-use, but they totally are. So in Pandemic, you are cooperatively working together, trying to save the world, finding cures for diseases before, too much harm to the world happens. And the cards that you are collecting throughout the game, which are, different city cards, are going to be the main way that you cure those diseases. You need 5 of the same color. To be able to cure red, for example, you need 5 reds. But you can use city cards in other ways as well, namely to get around the board. You can, if I'm, in somewhere in America and I have the Essen card, I can discard that card to fly directly to that location. If I was in Essen and I play the Essen card, I can fly anywhere. And I really, that's something that kind of like unlocked another level of strategy when we started, really getting into playing Pandemic, is realizing that like, if you already have your blues settled and you don't necessarily need them, how do you use that to get, quickly around the board to be able to kind of manage what's going on? And that just took everything next level for that game.
Number 9 is going to be Kutna Hora. This is a wonderful game by CGE Games based around the City of Silver, Kutna Hora. There's like silver mines, all this kind of stuff, but it is also based around dual use cards. So the way you do actions in this game is by playing a card. And one half, the kind of top, or I guess there isn't really a top or a bottom, but one half of the card is one of the actions, and the other half of the card, if you flip it over, is the other action. And you basically, on your turn, you're gonna play one of those cards, again, one way oriented up, and that's the action that you're gonna do. So it's really, really nice because you can do, the actions will repeat themselves on cards, so you can do multiple things multiple times, but you also have to be careful because what I end up doing a lot in this game is accidentally locking myself out of actions that I cannot do because I played the top card of this card and the top part of this card, and it turns out that was both of the actions that I wanted to do were on the bottom of that card, and no longer can I do them. So it's kind of an interesting little, not a huge puzzle, but a little thing that you have to think about when you're doing actions, because you're only going to get to play, I believe, 5 of these cards, I think is what it is, and there's like 6 or 7, so again, you're not going to be able to play all of them, and again, you can lock yourself out of actions. Or sometimes you can do multiple actions multiple times because you always play that side of the card. So it's really, really interesting the way you have to kind of decide. And this is a game where you are kind of building up this city. You're like kind of purchasing buildings and putting them out in the city, and each player has certain buildings that only they can build, or there might be some crossover amongst players, but every player will have at least one kind of building that only they can build. And these buildings you're trying to put adjacent to other buildings, kind of color match, things like that, to get points. And it's got a really interesting, escalating kind of stock market cost, where as you build a building, you're then putting that kind of supply into the market. And so the cost for those things will go down. But then as those buildings don't get built, the cost will go up and up and up. It's really, really interesting and fascinating how it works. But it's got those really great dual use action cards that are kind of the crux of the entire game.
Force Shuffle is a more recent addition to the multi-use card list. This game has a bunch of trees. You're kind of forming, harmonious ecosystems, which is kind of a pretty popular theme right now. And you're going to be doing this by playing out tree cards and then playing these split cards to the 4 kind of sides of those tree cards. Each tree card can hold 4 cards, one on its left, one above, one below, and one on its right. And you're going to play these split cards that either are going to have a top and a bottom, which might show, different types of foliage, birds, different bugs and stuff. And these split cards that are split down the middle, and you have a left and a right. So you have all of these cards, many of which you're only going to get to use half of, and you're trying to build, synergistic, combo-tastic, a tableau of cards where everything is kind of bouncing off each other and scoring things. There's different species of trees, and each of those split cards, the animals and such that you play, are also going to be linked to one of those species of trees. So you might have a scoring that gives you, bonus points for every time that particular species shows up, whether it be from a tree or a different card with that symbol on it. You can just build ridiculous combos. There's a bunch of different combos to kind of play and try to exploit. And I just love that, oftentimes I would like to have both halves of this card, but I have to make a choice and maybe can draw, in the future, another card that has that animal or whatever it might be to be able to play later. But in, the choosing of what you're doing, it's going to be really difficult. And on top of that, to play cards, you have to discard cards from your hand to pay for those cards, which adds to a whole nother level of kind of delicious anxiety in your game.
Number 7 is going to be Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux, the new version of Shipwrights of the North Sea that came out 2 years ago, last year, somewhere in there. This is really, really great. This is going to kind of be a placeholder for a lot of these kinds of games. You can put It's a Wonderful World in here. SETI does this too, where there's kind of a lot of games with cards that you can either kind of put into play, or you can trash them or recycle them if you're playing It's a Wonderful World or something else. You can basically discard them to get usually a resource instead. So they're kind of dual use in that way. But Shipwrights of the North Sea is actually slightly more uses than that. So this is a game where you are building obviously big ships, because you're kind of in the Norwegian, Scandinavian, Viking kind of time. So you're building out these long ships, and those are going to require various skills like carpentry and blacksmithing and people who make sails, like sewers and stuff like that. They're also going to require resources. And so you're drafting out these cards. It's a drafting game, and you have to use all of your cards. And again, all of these cards you can discard for a single resource, or maybe getting to draw another card, or getting a worker or something like that. But then they all will also, on top of that, do one or two things. So there are townsfolk. In townsfolk, you can either play and discard them, and they will do kind of their main ability. And again, you'll have to pay for that main ability. Or you can tuck them under a building, and then now they have that ongoing power. So whenever you activate that building, you then can also do that. You can also put out these buildings, or again, discard them for their resources instead of playing them. You can have, there are craftspeople, and there's craftspeople, those are people who are carpenters and blacksmiths and things like that, and you can use them to help build a ship, or you can pay extra and tuck them underneath a building, and then now you constantly have that skill. So now you always have at least one carpentry skill or blacksmith skill or something like that. And so all of these cards have these multiple uses. Not only can you just discard them for some kind of quick little bonus, because again, you have to use all the cards you draft. So if nothing else, you're going to have to discard them for resources. On top of that, many of them also have multiple uses as they are like that on top of the discard ability. So it's really, really good. I absolutely adore this game. It's become one of my favorite Garphill games. I just love the drafting. I love that concept of I can just get rid of this card to get this. Great, I'll do that. That's awesome. I really like that in games. It's one of the reasons why a game like It's a Wonderful World is one of my favorite games of all time. I absolutely love it. This game is a banger, and it's got those juicy multi-use cards.
So next up is going to be the A.R.T project. This is a cooperative game where you are trying to catch art thieves and recover, fine works in different locations around the world. So this game has many different maps you can play, which all change up the rules and stuff slightly. This one's interesting because it's a multi-effect card game. So you are going to be playing cards to the mission every turn. And these cards are going to have various effects, some positive, some negative. Cards that have a more positive effect that might get you more resources or something are going to have a steeper downside as well. And so the game is really about managing those things. You're trying to gain your resources to move around, to fight off the baddies. You're trying to get kind of like a set collection element with the types of artworks, whether it be a statue or a painting and stuff. And you're doing that through this card play. But again, every time you play a card, it's potentially adding kind of more bad guys to the map, increasing the danger of your scenario. And I really enjoy that kind of, I guess, card play where there's these, multiple elements and I'm not choosing between them, but I have to kind of figure out the balance point of like, is the good that I'm getting going to be more useful than the downsides that are going to come along with it? And do I want to use this card or that card to kind of mitigate those dangers? I think makes for some really interesting decisions. It makes for a very interesting puzzle. And I kind of like that if I'm trying to play this really cool card, I have to make my job harder, but I'm getting to choose that versus it just happening to me.
Number 5 is going to be the Bloody Inn. The Bloody Inn is interesting because, again, there's a lot of multi-use card games that do this kind of thing like this, which is that the cards have an ability that they do, but they're also kind of your currency. So the Bloody Inn is a very weird, macabre game. We're filming this very close to Halloween, so it's a very good time, very good game to play around here. This will come out about a week before Halloween, I think. And so it's a great game for Halloween, but this is a very macabre theme where you are hotel owners and you have realized that it's more profitable for you to kill some of your guests and just steal all their money than to actually just have them stay in your hotel. And so you are doing that through these cards, and there are these different color of cards like blue, red, purple, green, and all of those cards are good at something. And so every card can be either played down into kind of your tableau, which will again do different things for you, or they can be used to like purchase other cards or essentially pay for other cards. So basically, if a card is like a level 3 card, you will then have to pay 3 of the cards in your hand to play that card. If it's a level 1 card, you'll have to pay 1 card in your hand to do that. And so it's this constant balance of like, do I use this card for its ability and use these other cards to pay for that ability, or do I just use this as payment for something? It's really, really interesting. It's this tight little puzzle that you're constantly having to do because the game is very, very tight. It's kind of a tough little game because you can't leave dead bodies out for a long time, obviously. But then every single time you commit one of these murders, you have multiple steps because you have to kill them, which requires cards to end them. And then you also have to bury them, which also takes these cards. But then on top of it, you have to have a place to bury them. So you can use cards to build annexes. And if you use them to build annexes, then that's somewhere you can put something. But so you have all these things that you do. You can't just like kill someone like, oop, done, stole their money. You have to kill them, you have to have a place to bury them, and then you have to actually bury them. And all of those things are going to take these cards to pay. And so it's this really tight balance of like, do I use this card for its ability and pay for this card, or do I use this card as currency to pay for other cards? It's really, really good.
All right, next up is going to be Oh My Goods. This is a game with really only cards in it, and you are using those cards in various ways throughout the game to ultimately produce goods, turn those goods and kind of feed them into your buildings, your machines, to export more valuable goods, to be able to kind of race to points and getting these kind of assistants and stuff like that. So what's kind of cool is on the layout of these cards, you have a little cutout that is a type of kind of raw resource, wood, wool, things like that, that is being produced. Some of those are going to be flipped out for all players to use, and you can kind of contribute cards from your hand in addition to them. But each card is also a type of building that might receive those resources and convert them into something more valuable. Anytime you're making use of a building and you're producing goods, you'll simply take cards from the collective stack and put them face down, and whatever building they are on will dictate what the type of good is, how valuable that good is in coins. And then you will have to spend those goods to build additional buildings into your tableau, hopefully creating something where you can sort of chain together one resource, and you kind of put it into a building which spits out this resource, which goes into a different building, and ultimately becomes the most valuable possible resource for you. But I just love the efficiency of, put a card face down, and that's just sort of a generic good, but it gets context based on what card, what building it is in, and it's just a really kind of clean way to do things. Having that little notch, which Alexander Pfister also used in Maracaibo, to have a certain good that's produced just makes everything kind of very easy to lay out, and I just appreciate that you have just cards, and you can do kind of all these things and have these cards represent multiple things at once.
Number 3 is a wonderful big old game that used to be number 1 of all time, and this is Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, I actually just played Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs recently, and it reminded me just how much I like Gloomhaven, because I really, really do. It's the number 1 game of all time for a reason. People absolutely adore it. And it's got great multi-use cards. Every single card in the game is multi-use cards, and you are always forced to choose one half of one side. So basically, every round of the game, you're basically going to choose 2 cards, and those cards have a top half and they have a bottom half, and those 2 sides will be different. And you will basically play those 2 cards, and you will choose to do the top half of one and the bottom half of the other. You can't ever do the 2 top halves or the 2 bottom halves, always has to be one or the other. And then in the middle, there's going to be a number that's your initiative, and you'll choose which one of those you want to be your initiative. Generally, you want to go first before the enemies and stuff, but not necessarily always. But that's, I was gonna say that's it. That's not, there's tons of other stuff in the game. It's an enormous game, but that's kind of the multi-use card part. But it's always interesting because generally, the top half of the cards are going to be things that you're doing, usually attacking, right? And the bottom half of the cards very often are ways that you're going to move. Not always, sometimes there's attack on the bottom, sometimes there's moving stuff on the top, but usually it's attacking and doing stuff and then moving on the bottom. And so you're constantly like, oh, I have all these cards. I really, really want to use this movement, but oh, the top half is so good. I have to use that for the top half. Okay, so that means I'm not using this bottom half. Okay, so then what other card do I want to use the bottom half? It's a really interesting decision every single time. And because the game state is always changing and every scenario you're playing is always going to be different, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm using the top half of this card every single time. And sometimes you're like, I'm always gonna be using the bottom half. It just, every single situation changes how you want to use those cards. And it's just simple and easy. 2 cards, top half one, bottom half the other, go.
All right, next up is going to be a tri-use card. Each card has 3 possible uses. This is beer and bread. This is a game for 2 players only, where you are sort of rival towns on the other, each on the other side of a river, and you are having these yearly competitions where you're trying to bake bread, brew beer, and kind of manage the cards and drafting cards throughout the game to be able to do this. So each card has kind of 3 components. It has a top, a middle, and a bottom. The top is going to be your main way of producing resources. When you play a card for harvest purposes, you'll look at the top and you will produce some resources, putting them onto your storehouse to be able to be used in your recipes. The middle of a card is either going to show a type of bread or a type of beer and the ingredients that are required in order to make that recipe. And then on the very bottom, you have kind of a, start of round ability, in-game ability, discount, end-game scoring. There's a whole bunch of different things. And as you clear out your brewery and your bakery to make room to put more recipes down, you'll get to kind of get these power-ups as you go. So I like the fact that, like, I don't have 2 choices. I got 3 things I can do, with each of these cards. You are card drafting, so you're also trying not to give your opponent something that they are desperately looking for, and you can sort of store certain cards over from one round to the next, so I can make sure I have the ingredients, and then the next round pick up the cards, play it for its recipe, so you even get the ability to use the same card multiple times potentially. So it creates all these really interesting decisions. You're trying to be really efficient. You have a limited amount of storage for your resources, so you really have to be dialed in. But you have, 3 great uses for every single card in the game, and that's just very fun to play with.
Number 1 is, to us at least, like the ultimate multi-use card games. And this is gonna be Le Granja, because they weren't cowards. Because these cards have quad use. They have 4 uses, all of them. All of them have 4 uses. Ridiculous, I love it. It's so good. It's so hard to figure out what you want to do with these cards. So Le Granja just means the farm, and so you are working a farm, and then you're kind of sending orders and stuff to like the main market, and you're doing things and unlocking a whole bunch of different stuff. But like I said, everything is based around these cards and kind of your farm, and every one of these cards can be put in 4 different places on your farm. It's insane. If you put on the left side of your farm, that is going to be some kind of field. So it could be like a field that has grapes in it, or wheat, or olives. Those are the kind of the 3 resources. So if you put it on the left side, it's going to add another field there, and every single round, all of those fields are going to populate with those resources. If you put it at the top of your board, that is going to be a market barrow order. So it's going to be an order that you're trying to fulfill. So you're using the things on your fields and other stuff to fulfill that order, and then that order will then go into the market and score you points. So that's what it does when it's at the top of your board. If it's at the right side of the board, it's called a farm extension. A farm extension can do a whole bunch of different stuff. They can make it so that you can do extra deliveries when you're doing deliveries for these orders. They can make it so you're getting more income. They make it so you can have more cards in your hand, and they can also give you extra stalls for pigs, because you can have pigs as well, but you have a limited amount of space. But if you build some farm extensions with some extra stalls, oop, now you can have more pigs. Woo, let's go pig party. I don't know why I'm watching this. Nonetheless, pig party going on. But then the most interesting one, in my opinion, is you put it on the bottom of your board, then it's a special ongoing ability. It's an employee that is on your farm, and every single card in this game is unique. Every single power in the game is unique. There are a whole bunch of them. There's like 150 cards. It's insane. There's so many. And all these abilities are super, super cool. So in this game, when at the beginning of every round, you're gonna like draw some cards, and then you're gonna get to play a card or two. And it's that constant like, oh my gosh, I really need more fields, but like, I think I could do this order. This order's worth a lot of points, so I could be definitely good to do, but oh man, I want this income over here. But gosh, also this employee ability is super, super useful. And it's just every round is like that, where you're just trying to figure out how you want to use these cards, because every single way you could use them is incredibly useful and pivotal to your game. And trying to decide of those 4 options, which ones to use is just so delicious. This is the ultimate, at least for us, the ultimate multi-use card games, because they have 4 uses. 4, because they weren't cowards. Oh man, it's just so good. It's just so good. If you haven't played Le Granja, God, please play it. So that was our top 10 games with multi-use cards. Let us know down in the description, down in the comments below, what games you really like with multi-use cards. Again, I love the mechanic. It means every single card is an interesting decision, because it's not just should I play it, it's should I play it and how should I play it.
Yes.
It just makes that decision space that much juicier.
Yeah, I love being torn between 2 good decisions, right? I'm like, ooh, if I go this way, it's gonna be really useful, but if I go that way, it's really useful. I only get one of those choices. Very delicious indeed. Those are our picks. Again, get yours in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next top 10.
Bye, everybody.